The question was, do you have any with you? Do you have any relationship advice?
In general, I'm passing that one to Mr. Martin Kove.
What is the, do we have any?
Relationship advice.
Oh, relationship, oh, emotional relationship advice. Yeah, one of the best things I can tell you is don't ever date an actor. Or a poet. Or a painter, there's no future. Other than that, it'll be a wonderful life. It'll be a wonderful life. Actually, I think, you know, actors and actresses have to work harder. I think the only one I remember where it ever worked out, and it was always a strain, was Paul Newman and Julian Woodward. I always had that great respect when I was studying acting. That is a couple that really worked, you know? But by and large, it's a struggle, two artists in the family and all. And so my advice is really, you know, don't look for me, don't seek me out.
Speaking of relationships, in terms of the cast members, do you keep in touch? Is this the first time you've seen each other in a while, or does everybody stay?
We made a commitment that we wouldn't talk to each other for 29 years. So this is the reunion. No, we do stay in touch. It's a kindred spirit when you all connected to something like this. You know, it's an unspoken affection for each other in a way, and it's sort of like you've done this tour of duty that stays with you, and it touches so many people that we all acknowledge that we have that, and I certainly had that with Pat Morita, a very, you know, deep, long-standing relationship, and with Billy and Marty and all the guys, and Randy Heller. She would, you know, keep calling me every week. I was on Dancing with the Stars and voting for me, and Tamlin Tomita from the first sequel of Karate Kid. And it's nice to stay in touch. I mean, our lives and our career paths take us in different directions, but it's like yesterday every time we get together, and I think that's a great thing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going to see you with De Niro and the play. That was the first association I had with you after the movie.
Right, that was
and
'86.
It was like family was on the stage, you know, and you just create a closeness with, you know, a picture like this that the written word is the star, really, and then we just get a chance to embellish the written word. And you form a bond with everybody in it because everybody's doing the same thing, interpreting the words of a wonderful writer. And, you know, this stuff is passed on from generation to generation, as you said. How could we not be close? You know, how could you not stay close? I mean, even 3,000 miles away, you're still close.
Well, you share something. Like we're both part of something that's bigger than us as much as it's touched so many people. So I think you acknowledge, you recognize that on a deeper level, that you were part of something that has become pop culture and history in American cinema. You know, we just got the jobs. You know what I mean? We just showed up and said the lines, and look what happened. So that's a great thing. Steve.
When people drive past the dojo, it's very interesting because I drive past the dojo on Lancashire Boulevard, Los Angeles, and it doesn't look exactly alike as it did before, but it's very close. And I have these feelings as I drive past it, you know, and that stuff doesn't ever leave you. You know, when you see Pat Johnson occasionally, he got an award. His stunt coordinator is retired now, but he took an award for Steve McQueen, a Western award, and I took an award for Charles Bronson. And just to see him, it brought back so much of what we all did. So, and that only happens when it's that strong, you know.
Fun fact too, Steve McQueen's son was actually in the film.
He played Dutch.
He played Dutch on your side, right?
No, he's a bad guy.
Oh, he's a bad guy.
You're all bad. I was the only one outside. Fish out of it. Yeah, he played Dutch, and they dyed his hair. He had-
What do you mean a body bag?
That was Rob Garrison.
What did he say?
Dutch was like,
Dutch was,
he was like, anytime, man, like in the locker room, he was like a hothead.
Dead meat, that's what it was.
Dead meat, yeah.
Dead meat.
We have time for a couple more questions. Let's go all the way in the back. Blue shirt. Yell it. We get a microphone.
Mr. Macchio, was this your first movie you played in? Out of all the movies you played in?
No. The first movie I played in was a film called Up the Academy. Hey, listen, we got a couple out. Robert Downey Jr.'s dad directed that movie. Robert Downey Jr. was 13 in the film. And the next film, I was on a TV show called 8 is Enough, which, thank you. I was 9 was too many, and it was canceled. and then The Outsiders, which is a book that was close to 12. And then the Karate Kid came after that.
And yeah, in about 10 years, make sure to tell your mom and dad, My Cousin Vinny. You're definitely going to want to see that.
I saw that.
Cool. Good question, buddy. Thank you.
Yes, right here.
Question for Martin. You mentioned that you saw Kreese before you started the movie as sort of a standard heavy. Once you got into the movie, did you start to think about why he was the way he was?
Yeah, that's a good question. It was part of an inner life that I did as an actor, and I believe that I've mentioned it once before. That John Kreese was never in high school or college. He was a champion and all in the army, but he was never allowed to win when he went to Vietnam. So when he returned, he vowed that he had wanted to open up dojos. None of his students would ever lose ever again, because he experienced that in Vietnam, and he never wanted to have that as a current feeling. So he was motivated to train the Cobra Kai that way, like Hitler used like young Aryans, and that was his motivation, because he was always a champion, and one day he wasn't, and he never wanted to face that again at any cost.
That's an interesting one.
So we have to wrap things up in a few seconds here, but both Martin and Ralph will be available for a meet and greet following the show. So if you do have a couple questions, there will be some great merchandise for sale, but feel free to stop by and say hey. Before we leave, so what's up next?
Good question.
Dance with the Stars too.
A couple of things going on for me. Some of the stuff I'm focusing on is behind the camera, trying to take what I've learned from many of the directors I got to work with, and I've done some directing. I just have a short film that I just finished up with Marsha Mason, who is in The Goodbye Girl, amongst now nominated for 4 Academy Awards in her career.
It's brilliant.
And you saw
Yes.
very cool. And Karina Smirnoff from Dancing with the Stars, and I have this terrific kid, Ben Highland. It's a 24-minute coming-of-age short film that will be available hopefully this fall for digital download and Netflix and iTunes and all of that. So we're finishing up our festival run. You can go on acrossgracealley.com, and there's a trailer there and all that kind of stuff. And also at my table this weekend we'll have cards and information. I finished a film with Olympia Dukakis, F. Murray Abraham, and Janine Garofalo and Rachel Dratch called A Little Game. I'm acting in that. I don't know when that's going to be released, but stay tuned on the Facebook and Twitter. And a bunch of stuff behind the camera from a production standpoint as well. And sending my son off to college. My daughter just graduated and still paying those bills. Like the rest of them.
Martin?
There's 2 projects, well, actually 2 westerns. One called 3 Tickets to Paradise, which we shot in Tombstone in Arizona. It's in the editing process now. And another one with Eric Roberts. It's a surreal western with lots of demons and very interesting characters. That's also in the post-production situation right now. A lot of fun, because I'm perpetually trying to, rejuvenate the western. I really love that genre most of all, and it's a tough sell, but we just keep moving forward, and directed a couple of plays,
As you should, man. All that stuff. I mean, I'm getting we're talking backstage, and we're like, I said it was like Eli Wallach and Cary Grant talking about bringing back the way movies used to be, you know. But it's the truth. Technology has made everything so fast and furious, and the content is so immediate that people, you know, it's like 7 billion channels and nothing on. Everybody's flicking to get to the next thing. Sometimes it's nice. You know, it's interesting with this movie, and I know we need to wind up, but this movie was 2 hours and 6 minutes, and the studio kept saying we need to be able to show the movie every 2 hours. And they wanted to initially cut the Miyagi drunk scene out, which turns out to be, you know, just, it's Pat Morita's Academy Award nomination, one of the scenes that led to that nomination. They wanted that scene out because they felt it stopped forward plot progress, and it made the movie, you know, over an hour and 40 minutes, an hour and 45, and it was against the rules on paper. And then once they screened it to a couple of audiences, they shut up about that.
Well, I just want to say that of course, Ralph and I have never done a Q&A together. The key for me in cinema, and unfortunately we miss it a lot today because it's all about explosions, special effects, is relationship. True human relationship, like it is in life. And the relationship that you had with Miyagi was just, hasn't been surpassed by any film I can remember. Maybe in the 40s if we talked about Casablanca, maybe if we talked about African Queen or something. But for the modern age, what you and he did, despite the Darth Vader of what I did, but what you and he did together, for me, will last forever and ever and ever in my career. Because you interpreted the words, you couldn't be more brilliant in interpreting the words than the two of you were, and it's not the director, it's the soul of you and Pat that shone.
And I use the words, people ask about, okay, what'd you think of the remake? What'd you think, what's the difference? Bottom line, they made a very good movie because it's a very good story, and I thought it was well presented for 2010. The difference is, you mentioned those points you make, there was a magic and a soul that just came together in the performances throughout this movie that touched people, like I said, on a human level, and that's the difference. That's the difference. Cool, man. Thanks so much.